out last night too as well. Lots and lots to get into this morning. I hope you're all doing very, very well. I'm not seeing myself on this stream, so 1 minute before I carry on, because I don't want to be in a position where this isn't working. And am I live or am I not live? How long have I been live? Yeah, I've only been live for about... I don't even know if you got the start. Did you get the start? Shower of shit, YouTube, at the moment, to be honest with you. Should do better. Deserves the sack. I mean, I feel I need to redo the start here now. Well, thanks, everybody. I've just done a 30-second... oh, my God. It's absolutely crazy. Did you get the intro? That's all I want to know. Did you get the intro? Let me know. Did you get the intro to the show? No. Brilliant. Thanks, YouTube. You're fucking shit. Okay. This is the intro to the show. This is the intro to the show that you missed. It was probably the best one you've ever had. Good morning and welcome to the United Stand. Lots to talk about this morning. It's match day, of course. Mason Greenwood doesn't want to return to Manchester United. This is the story that's coming out from The Athletic. We'll talk about that. Also, the continued rumours around Marcus Rashford and Erik Ten Hag and their fallout. We'll give you the truth on what's going on with that as well. Also, Jadon Sancho, what's happening there. And Erik Ten Hag last night was talking about his situation and his future. So lots to get into. Apologies there. I don't know why or what's going on with YouTube the last couple of days, but honestly, it's a miracle if you can get live at the moment. It's all over the place. But at least we got the introduction in there. And it is a massive game for Manchester United tonight, of course. SXC says, Mason, you won't be missed. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. It begins. And Jay, thank you very much for your super chat as well. Sanil says, it's all rumours and no truth. Don't know what he's talking about. Sometimes he's right. But this is a story coming in from The Athletic. Look, The Athletic is a paid-for journalism. Like, they have ins with all clubs. There's a lot of money flying around. I don't think with The Athletic you can really say it's, gutter press or anything like that. That's not to say that they get everything correct, but this is quite an interesting story. And I would describe it as it's got to have some credibility because it's come out of nowhere on a day where nobody really wants to talk about it. So I would imagine that it's quite a well-sourced piece, this, and basically there's quite a few updates around Mason Greenwood. So what they're saying is that... Sir Jim Radcliffe's words have reached Mason Greenwood's camp, but sources with an understanding of the player's thinking say even if Manchester United wanted to facilitate a return, he would be reluctant to accept it. Greenwood felt, whatever the public perception, United could have supported him better over his case and is said to harbour no great desire to play for the club again. And this is something that never gets taken into account before we move on to anything else. People never consider this because all you get is bring back, the star boy or get rid of him or this, that and the other. Should United bring him back? Should United not bring him back? Let's do a poll on it. Well, nobody can do a poll on what Mason Greenwood wants to do. And nobody discusses what Mason Greenwood wants to do. I think we've done it every now and again. We've said, look, what we need to bear in mind is the impact of the individual player. He will be fully aware that coming back to England next season will be boos and hysteria at away grounds. And also, there will be protests inside Old Trafford. I don't think some people accept this, but it's true. There are people in the fan base, young and old, who do not want him back at the club, who will make that very clear to the club. It won't just be external noise. It won't be a siege mentality where he's our player, let's protect him. There will be some people in the fan base that are like, no, I agree with the boos and everything. I don't want him back at the club. So that's always something that Greenwood has got to take into account, the mental strain on him and his family if he does decide to come back. So that has to be considered. But also from this article, it seems that is maybe a factor, but one of his biggest factors is he feels that Manchester United didn't support him over the 2 years that all this was going on, before the statement was made in the summer, when he was, not able to play for what felt like 18 months, wasn't it? So, look, I think it's interesting, you know. Obviously, it's in the news this morning, and we spend a lot of time talking about it. We have spent a lot of time talking about it. Some of you are very, very passionate about it. Respect, you know, everyone's entitled to their opinion on it. It's a very difficult, complex, layered conversation. But actually, it's sort of killed by the fact that it doesn't matter what you think or what I think or what the press think or what, you know, different groups of people think. If Mason Greenwood doesn't want to come back, it's a non-starter. And actually, I think it might be the biggest solution there is. If Mason Greenwood doesn't want to come back, I sort of think, that's a get out of jail card, because we don't have to debate it. If he doesn't want to come back, he's not comfortable coming back, he's not happy to come back, there's no conversation about what Ineos need to do or what fans want, because it's never really been considered about what Mason Greenwood wants to do. And if he doesn't want to come back, I sort of agree. I mean, we can't be Mason Greenwood. Nobody can be. But I try to put myself in those shoes, which we do in many situations. And I don't think I'd come back. I really don't. You're building a new life for yourself in a country where, you know, I love Spain. And, you know, you've got bigger clubs that want you, like Atletico Madrid, maybe even Barcelona. You know, there's no hassle there. You're out of the public eye. You know, you're never going to play for England again anyway. That's never going to happen. Well, it's certainly not going to happen in the foreseeable. Why come back to England? Why come back to Manchester United? You know, why reignite all of that? You can achieve what you want to achieve in La Liga for the next few years. So I don't think I would come back, to be honest. But there has always been this assumption in the fan base that we decide. Like, let's do a poll, you know, or Man United decide, and no one ever thinks that the player just might not want to do it. Also, in the same article, John Murtagh has held talks with Mason Greenwood's father at Carrington a fortnight ago. That happened with, I mean, that could be about a sale. I mean, that could be, I would imagine that's more likely to be about a sale. I mean, it could be about, I don't think it would be about a return. Well, that decision's not been made yet. I mean, look, who knows what that meeting's all about? I don't know. I mean, look, this sort of stuff is a little bit dangerous for Sir Jim. I will read it because it's in the same article and we want to be fair about it. Several clubs, including Barcelona, are tracking Mason Greenwood's performances in Spain. That's in the same article. And then this is Sir Jim Radcliffe and Sir David Brailsford are taking a fresh look at the Mason Greenwood matter. And though they are aware of the highly sensitive situation, they haven't ruled out a return, according to sources who were speaking anonymously to protect relationships. I think that's very dangerous for Sir Jim Radcliffe and Ineos to, and you know, if I was them, I wouldn't be really happy about that sort of a story coming out, because, again, you know, he answered it in a public interview. I think the honest way to deal with it is to say that you're keeping an open mind until the summer, because you retain the value of the player. You cannot say he's for sale in February, because his price will plummet. Man United have to. This is business. Harsh as you like. Some people would deal with it differently. This is business. This is about transfer budgets. This is about FFP. This is about a lot of things. You cannot tell the world that you're selling him because of what because of what went on, because suddenly he becomes very, very cheap. You have to say we're keeping an open mind. You have to say we'll look at it in the summer, because you have to keep an open mind on it, because you have to. What if somebody says we'll give you 10 million? You can't do that deal. So they have to. They have to keep an open mind on it. But look, interesting. I think for me, the big thing is the stuff that's coming out from Mason Greenwood's side, that, you know, he wouldn't really be wanting to come back anyway, because I don't think anybody's ever thought of it like that before. Hello, Mark. Loved the Loz interview. Any chance you and Brian do an interview in the future, says Jar? But I'd love to do it. I don't think he's the sort of person who would do that, but I would like to do it. Thank you very much for that. And thanks everyone who's watched that video. Scott says, what if he refuses to move? Well, that's just not going to be the case, is it? You've clearly not listened to what we've been talking about, Scott, for the last few minutes. But yeah, as I said, we'll have to see what happens. I was quite surprised it came out this morning, which, as I said, leans me to think that this is a well-sourced article. There's no logical reason to put a story about Mason Greenwood out on a Wednesday when we've got a match and there's a lot of other things going on around the manager. So I think it's probably been a well-sourced article over a period of time. And when you think about it logically, whatever side of the fence you sit on, it's a strange move for Mason Greenwood to want to come back to Manchester United. When you think about it, I think it is. Anyway, let's move on. We might come back to that because ongoing, I will talk about Sancho. Don't forget that because he is on the thumbnail, and we've got some interesting comments coming out from Erik Ten Hag as well. But I want to just bring in again another story coming out. Remember last night there was this story, I think it was Neil Custis, attends the press conferences, has done for years with The Sun, put an article out last night saying that Marcus Rashford and Erik Ten Hag don't speak. It's a bit like that song by No Doubt. Don't speak. I know just what you're saying. Just keep on playing. No, that didn't work. A well-placed source has suggested that the relations between Erik Ten Hag and Marcus Rashford are frosty. This is coming from TalkSport. I mean, look, I worry about as soon as I think that the interesting thing about that video I did with Loz towards the end is we were talking about the YouTube footballing space and how that there is so much, we're awash with underrated 11, overrated 11, you know, ridiculous takes for views, etc. You know, a lot of you like it, fair play. But I also think in the mainstream media, we are awash with a well-placed source, a source close to this who wanted to remain anonymous. This source, a dressing room source. You know, I feel like I'm walking down the sauce aisle, the condiments in Sainsbury's. Oh, here's the well-placed source. What should we put on our chips tonight? Anonymous sauce, the well-placed sourced, or the dressing room sauce? I quite like the dressing room sauce on a salad. It just gives it a nice kick. The well-placed sauce works nicely between my chips and my burger. I struggle with this. It's 2024. Like, well-placed sauces, dressing room sauces, we demand a little bit more than this now. And, you know, look, there are sources. Of course there are. We sometimes have to say, look, I always say to the people working on the United stand, let's try not to use the word source because it almost becomes bullshit. You know, you're better off just saying, we understand than source, because then people know we're the source. I don't like it. You know, why can't whoever on TalkSport says that Rashford and Ten Hag have got a frosty relationship? Why can't they just put their name to it and say, you know, I know that they've got a frosty relationship. You know, if you're so confident in your source, then you should say that, because we've gone from last night where Rashford and Ten Hag aren't talking to this morning where they've got a frosty relationship. Well, look, I might be throwing a shock here. Let him speak, Simon. I will speak. I don't think Rashford and Ten Hag's relationship's that good. I think it is frosty. Oh, what? Goldbridge says that Ten Hag and Rashford have got a frosty relationship. Well, I think they probably have. I think they probably have, because it's not even been a month since one of my players lied to me and went on the piss 24 hours, well, the night before training. I'm not going to be having a hug and inviting him round for lunch. You know, I think there is an element of frostiness there. And since then, has Rashford won back Ten Hag's trust with good performances? No. So I would imagine there is a frosty relationship. I don't think it's news. I'll tell you what, there might be a frosty relationship between Ten Hag and Antony, because he spent 80 million quid on him and he's let him down. So I think it's just a non-story. It's a non-starter. They're not talking. I know that's a fact. But, you know, maybe Rashford's not happy as well. He never looks happy on the pitch. He never looks like he's really wanting to be there. So maybe their relationship is frosty. And at the end of the day, do you want it to be frosty, or would you rather they were getting on really well at the moment? I want it to be frosty. I guarantee you now, if that was Sir Alex Ferguson and Ryan Giggs, it would be bloody frosty. And I guarantee you now, Ryan Giggs would be putting in better performances than Rashford is. So, look, I don't even care if their relationship's frosty. If I was Marcus Rashford, I'd be reading all this and going, right, tonight, I'm gonna ram this down everybody's throat. I'm gonna show everybody what the real Marcus Rashford is. Like, I'm waiting for that to kick in. I mean, what are we waiting for? Like, you're getting kicked from pillar to post. You know, you've had a bad month in the press. The fans are on your back. Like, what an opportunity. And also from Ten Hag's side, why the hell should he be happy with him? It's his star player who's not delivered for most of the season. And, you know, there's been a big incident. So, look, I just think, you know, I think sometimes it's just, is it news? I mean, we talk about it because it's news, but is it really news? Do we really need to do anything about it? As Thuto says, I don't care about the relationship. Just go and get the bloody results. And I don't care whether Ten Hag and Rashford get on. And in fact, I respect the fact that Ten Hag might be pissed off with him because I'd be pissed off with him as well. And it's on Ten Hag and Rashford to resolve that situation. Of course it is. So look, I'll touch on it, but really I don't want to touch on it any more than that because I don't think it really adds anything to the equation. Same outlet, TalkSport, saying this morning, if Sir Jim Ratcliffe did decide to move on from Ten Hag, he is known to be an admirer of Brighton boss Robert De Zerbi as well as Graham Potter. Well, I think we can start to file this under bullshit in the sense that Sir Jim Ratcliffe is not an admirer of anybody because, as Fabrizio said yesterday, Manchester United aren't talking to any other managers. And I couldn't give a shit about admiration. I really, really couldn't. You know, what does that mean? You know, I drive past the Porsche garage once or twice a week. I admire the red one they've got on the drive. I ain't going to buy it. I haven't got the money to buy it. And I never will have the money to buy it. So, you know, my nice Vauxhall Astra that I'm driving around in needn't get jealous. So, you know, at the moment, Ten Hag is with Sir Jim. And all this admiration bullshit is just this. It's stirring the pot. We're not in talks with any other managers. When we're in talks with other managers, you've got a story. Admiration, Man City probably admire Ancelotti. You know, Pep Guardiola probably admires Declan Rice. It's nonsense. It's a nonsense. And it's done to stir the pot. It's done to stir you. It's done to try and get more of you to be Ten Hag out, to create more of a story. We've got a massive game tonight. We're Manchester United fans. We've got a massive game tonight. And we need to be united behind this team and this ownership and this manager, because we play a game of football tonight and the odds against us, as we know and discussed last night, because of injuries. As for De Zerbi, look, honestly, big risk. Big risk. Doesn't buy his own players. I think that's a small club mentality, by the way. I'm still waiting for somebody to tell me of a successful football club that a manager has no involvement in signing players. So basically, you've got a puppet manager. It works at clubs like Brighton because Brighton are never going to challenge for the Champions League and they're never going to win the league. When you want to win the big prizes, you need a proper manager. You need a manager that's involved in the recruitment process. Plus, De Zerbi had a really good first season and a really bad second season. He's had a lot of injuries. So, you know, I think for me, De Zerbi's all about next season. Now, would I want his next season to be at Man United? No. I'd like it to be at Brighton to see what he's all about, really. As for Graham Potter, God, come on. You know, we may as well give up and go home if that's going to happen. If that's really United's next step, come on. We're not going to appoint Graham Potter. I think it's lazy journalism. I think it's actually just very lazy to, and it's been going on for a while now, and it probably does need calling out. This link between Graham Potter and Manchester United needs to stop. We would be ridiculed if we did that. He is not a Manchester United coach. He's a good coach, but he's not a Man United coach. And the only reason it's happening is because Graham Potter used to manage Brighton and Dan Ashworth used to be at Brighton, and therefore Graham Potter is now Man United's next manager. It's as simple as that. Off topic, would love to see Loz on That's Football, says Wayne. Thank you very much for your super chat, Wayne. Get your comments in below. Real Footy Talk says De Zerbi is 1,000 times better than Ten Hag. Just faced it. You need to change your name. You're not Real Footy Talk. You need to change the first word to shit, because that's a terrible opinion, even for this early in the morning. Moving on, Sir Jim Ratcliffe. I mean, again, another one. Sir Jim Ratcliffe has identified Antony as a player he is willing to offload, though he knows the club will not recruit anything anywhere near £86 million. Again, look, we're moving through this stuff. I've got some Ten Hag quotes for you. I don't know where these stories are coming from, and I don't know where the sense is in it. Sir Jim Ratcliffe is not the director of football. He's not the CEO, and he should not be making decisions on players. We do not want to become Mike Ashley. This is nonsense. Like, Sir Jim Ratcliffe is not putting players up for sale. It would be a disaster if he was doing that. He's the owner of the football club. We do not want Todd Bowley. And there are a lot of stories about Antony, and I think there is a very big chance that he might get moved on in the summer. But there is a chance that Rashford gets moved on in the summer. There is a chance that Bruno gets moved on in the summer. We've got 3 months of the season left, and there are still opportunities for these players to show their worth as a Man United player. I don't think for 1 minute Antony is up for sale at the moment, because it's the same as Greenwood. It's the same as Sancho. Like, these decisions need to be made over a period of time, which is not going to be February the 28th. And I think we can't complain about it. We're actually on the United Stand news show, so this is the one show where we talk about news, and we can say it's nonsense, of course we can, but it is the news show. But we are in that world at the moment of, I think there's a lot of enthusiasm in the media about Man United, and there's a lot of curiosity, but I don't think there's a lot of meat on the bones. So I think what we're getting is, we need to write something about Man United. I need to get my name out there about Man United. And I think we're getting put stuff out there that just isn't well-sourced, isn't true, and is very predictive. 10 players are up for sale in the summer. Well, it's a very good guess, and it's a very accurate guess, but it's a guess. We haven't put anybody up for sale yet because we haven't decided who's going to go yet. And I think we just need to be wary of that. We've been down this path before. We had it with Ranić, actually. If you go back 2 years ago, very similar articles coming out. 10 players are up for sale. This player's definitely going to go. The following August, none of them had gone. So we have to be just very realistic about what we choose to believe and not believe. I think there is a big chance that about 10 players will go, but let's not pretend they're listed or anything like that at the moment. It's just, there's a lot of exuberance and excitement around what Man United are going to do, but nobody knows what we're going to do, so they're filling in the blanks, really. I mean, I could do that. That's a good idea for a video, actually. I might write that down. The 10 players that are up for sale. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the United Stand. This is the 10 players I think are up for sale. And that's it. I think is the word. We're all capable of doing it. One player I will tell you that's going to go, though, and I'll be very, very surprised if he doesn't, is Rafael Varane. Jay, welcome to the Members Club. Our first member of the day. Absolute legend, mates. Really appreciate that. Thank you for getting your badge in. Big game tonight, of course, to watch along. Looking for that. Forward to that. Countdown to kick-off will be interesting when the team news comes in as well. But yeah, I've said it before. I think Varane is this year's De Gea. I think United are trying to pretend that there might be a new contract, but I think he just goes for nothing in the summer. Maybe De Zerbi is Ashworth's choice as well. Brighton plan and they appointed him fast. Maybe Ashworth had planned him as a successor to Potter, says Rambia. Ashworth definitely wasn't there when De Zerbi and Potter were replaced, and I think he'd gone about a year before. So I don't know, but look, honestly, I think De Zerbi's a massive, massive risk. I really, really do. Anyway, moving on from that, there are some still bits to get into. Erik Ten Hag was speaking last night, and he had a lot to say about, he was asked some direct questions about his future and what is likely to happen at Manchester United. And what's this? Okay, so yeah, I don't think I'd read this quote out last night. So this is all coming in from the embargoed section. So when Erik Ten Hag does a press conference, we listen to it, we react to it, but then the night before the game, they release another half of it. Never really understood why. because I think that sometimes in the embargoed section you get better quotes, but there's no one who's going to do a stream at 11 o'clock at night for it. It's not worth it. So you talk about it the next morning, which is the game day, and you're like, it'd be much better just to release the whole lot, I think. But there's probably a good reason for it. I've just never understood it. Anyway, this is what Ten Hag had to say. I have many talks with Sir Jim, also with Sir David and others in the group, and I know where we are talking about, and I have a strong belief, and I feel that they believe in me. He said, I don't feel I'm on trial, but I want to win every game. I know the process. I know what I'm doing. As I just said, I've had many talks consistently with Ineos, and we're talking about a future together. He said, I'm not thinking about uncertainty surrounding the future. It's not about me. It's about this process, and I have to manage the process. I'm not focusing about my personal circumstances. I'm focusing on the team, and I have to find solutions for this team so that they perform in the best way they can. It's all about focusing on that, and I don't get distracted by noise or whatever. If you talk about one defeat and the manager's position is a discussion, I think it's quite an opportune thing to do after 2 months without a defeat. I can't pick something from this. I can't take it seriously. I have to stay focused on the team and on the team's performance. And look, it's very interesting what he says there, because even as somebody that doesn't think we should change the manager, I hadn't really thought of it like that. I didn't realise we were unbeaten for 2 months. Obviously, we didn't play many games in January, but 2 months is 2 months, I suppose. But I didn't realise we were unbeaten for 2 months. And the Fulham result really was reminiscent of sort of losing 4 or 5 in a row, wasn't it? But yeah, look, I mean, I don't really have anything to add there. I feed you what Ten Hag has said, and you know, I think more importantly, a manager's never going to sit there and say, I'm on trial, you know, I might lose my job. He's not going to do that. No manager's going to do that when they're under pressure. Excuse me. I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said the same thing towards the end. I'm sure Mourinho did as well. So, look, I wouldn't put too much weight on it unless he's telling the truth. And if he's telling the truth, then I hope that those conversations are taking place with Ineos about the future, because structurally, I just don't see changing a manager being the thing we need to do in the next 6 months. Where I really rest my hat at the moment is what Fabrizio Romano said to Beth on the United stand yesterday. Man United want to work forward with Ten Hag, and they're not talking to any other managers at the moment. So that, to me, is a happy stance of where we are at the moment, and I hope that that can continue. Obviously, results are going to dictate that, and I think that, you know we've got 2 very, very difficult starting with tonight. We've got 2 very difficult games. I think there's a lot of external noise, but as we saw when we won 4 games in a row, the way to shut the noise down is to perform on the pitch. That's not always easy when people are talking about clear outs. I mean, it's a very, very, very difficult job. Manchester United job is very, very difficult, and we've seen that with Ole, Ranić, Mourinho and others. But it's a very, very difficult job when I and you are saying, part of me just wants to start the summer now. I mean, part of me just doesn't want to. I mean, I always want to watch Man United play, and we're not Michael J. Fox, and we haven't got a DeLorean. We can't fast forward to the start of June. But there's a part of me that really does want to, because I just think that anything that happens between now and then, we're not really likely to learn much, are we? I mean, what are we going to learn in the next few months? All we're learning is what players we want to get rid of. I don't really see another young player coming through that's exciting. We can't sign anybody. We've got a lot of injuries. I don't think we're really going to get to a point this season where we consistently play our best 11. So really, it's just 3 months of grinding out results, hopefully, to try and salvage something from a chaotic season. So I want to get to the end of the season like most of you do. But then there's this mousetrap of, there's still this movement that we might want to get rid of this player, or we might want to sack this manager. And it's difficult. It's really, really difficult, because if you're a player in that dressing room, we know that professional pride doesn't always kick in. They really should be playing for their futures. They really should be playing for the badge. They really should be playing for the fans. They really should be playing for themselves. But as we know, these players are very inconsistent mentally. So if you're in Ten Hag's position, you've got these big plans about what you want to do when you get your players back and what you want to do in the summer. But then you've got a set of players that you just don't know what they're going to do. And what worries me is that Rangnick's final games just turned into players that just were downing tools, and some of them were even just faking injuries. Like, I remember, didn't we play Palace away or Brighton away? And there was just suddenly a ridiculous influx of injuries and illnesses. And I just think that's a very hard situation to manage. But the difference is, when Rangnick was here, it was still the Glazers. So we've now got Ineos, we've now got Sir David Brailsford. And what I'm trying to say is, if I was a Manchester United player playing tonight, this would be my most motivated game I've played ever. Because you are literally in the midst of a strategic review. And you know, Ineos aren't going to be stupid, and if they see players not giving an effort, or you know, not turning up for training on time, or you know, feigning an injury again, then they'll be out. They're out the door, and hopefully we'll see a reaction from the players. Do we need to change the captain, says Dansky? Well, you can change the captain, but who do you give it to? Harry Maguire's not even fit at the moment, but we saw Maguire's improved without the captaincy. Do you want to see him drop off again with it? I think, in a way, you know, Bruno Fernandes deserves a lot of credit, because I think that he might not be the right captain, but he's the right captain for now. He's the fall guy. He's the sacrificial lamb, because I don't think there's anybody capable of holding that captain's armband at the moment. So as much as people criticise him, I think he is the right one at the moment. Ayusam says, good insight, Mark. I'm excited and scared to see what Man United would be like after the summer window. And thank you, mate. And Patrick says, Mark, is all the talk about possible departures one of the reasons that there's been a downturn in performance, says Patrick. But that's weak mentality, isn't it? I mean, I remember Willian. Remember after COVID, when we had that summer of football, Willian was out of contract for Chelsea. And we came back from the COVID break, and Willian was the best player in the Premier League for about 2 months, because he knew he was out of contract. He's never played like that again, and he's not the first player to play like that. So, as much as it might be unsettling because you might be being sold in the summer, on the other hand, there's 2 reasons to really up your game. One, to increase your chances of going somewhere else and earning good money, or 2, to change opinion so that you can stay. But that comes down to mentality, and I think United have a collection of players that just don't have the right mentality, because if I was one of those players and I knew my name was being mentioned as a potential player to go in the summer, I would up my game, because it benefits me 2 ways. So whether that happens or not, I don't know. Raygard has been a member for 11 months. Thank you very much. And Antony says, do you think Ten Hag is starting to regret taking the job? He's had a rough time this last year. I don't know. I don't know. It's a great job. It's a great challenge. And if you believe you can turn it around, then you won't regret it. But he's also walked into a job that I don't think any manager could have predicted. Some of the stuff he's had to deal with is just not right. You know, some of it on and off the field has just been incredible. Jay says, I think Ineos will remove Ten Hag if he fall out with Rashford. I know it's unfair, but can't do anything, says Jay. Look, I've never truly believed that we're Rashford United and not Manchester United. I do know that there's a lot of player power in that club that overpowers very senior people in that club, and that's been going on for a very long time. If Ineos come in and continue that, then they're not new owners. Like, we need to, you know, here's an interesting comment for you. I never said it before. I never said it because I never believed it, but what an amazing thing it would be. You know, when Sir Jim Radcliffe said, I'm here to put the Manchester back into Manchester United, a lot of us assumed it was some sort of locality thing about Manchester fans. I actually thought and hoped, and probably don't believe, but wouldn't it be great, that he actually might have meant, I'm here to put the Manchester back into Manchester United, because we're not Manchester United anymore. We've become everything that Manchester United isn't. Player power is not Manchester United. You know, the way the Glazers have run Manchester United is not Manchester United. What if Sir Jim Ratcliffe means he's going to bring the identity back to Manchester United in the sense that nothing is bigger than Manchester United and the player power days are over? Because if in a year's time another manager's been sacked and the same players are here who've sacked 2 or 3 other managers, then we are still player United. That is something Ineos have to remove. They have to remove it. What about Delo as captain, says Sadsack? What, and ruin Delo's game? I don't think people realise the enormity of the job of captaincy, and it won't be solved overnight. I'd keep Bruno until the end of the season and then address trying to get some real leaders into the club as well. Eric Ten Hag says, winning is normal. It's normal. We have to win. Players have to understand this. Managers have to understand this. I understand the criticism when we don't win, and that criticism is coming. On Antony, he says, we will support him. I know what he is capable of. I have seen it. I have seen for Ajax in 88 games, he scored 24 goals and 22 assists and was performing in the Champions League. He was unstoppable. Look, funnily enough, I was asked this question this morning, on some content I was doing about Antony and whether I'd class him as a flop. And I said the amazing thing that keeps coming out at the moment is there is this rush to, you know, call people a flop, etc. But with regards to Antony and Rashford and Sancho, who I know is not at the club but it's still relevant, we've still got 3 key months left of this season. Selling players at the end of February is completely and utterly futile, because if Antony has another bad 3 months, you've got to talk about moving him on in the summer. If things change around, and they can do, then we're having a different conversation. Same with Marcus Rashford. If he has a really strong end to the season, less people will be talking about selling him in the summer. So we are in that. We're not at the end of the race. And you can make a prediction of how the race is going to end, and I wouldn't be opposed to people saying Antony's never going to make it at Manchester United, but there is still a gap there for these players to turn things around. If I was to be critical of Antony and his state at Manchester United, then I would say that Ten Hag sort of gives a hint there in relation to his stats in the Eredivisie for Ajax. He probably was. Look, I really liked him when he was at Ajax. Looked a really, really good player. But Memphis Depay looked a very good player at PSV. I mean, Memphis was better than... Memphis at PSV was better than Antony at Ajax. He looked like he was going to be one of the greatest players in Europe, Memphis at PSV. And at United, I mean, did he ever really do anything? Like, he didn't. So I think what we've got here is just very, very simple. If it doesn't work out with Antony, it's the same as Memphis. The Eredivisie is not the Premier League. And I'm not saying the Eredivisie is worse than the Championship, but look at Burnley in the Championship and look at Burnley in the Premier League. And their end of the lesson. In the Championship, Burnley are playing Pep football, smashing it to shit. And everyone's like, when they come in the Premier League, they're going to be great. They try it in the Premier League and they're absolutely abysmal. You know, teams who play worse football than Burnley are battering them. So their end of the lesson. Look, a player can look really good in a certain situation, but this is the Premier League. This is the elite, intense league in world football. And I think what's happening here, in my opinion, is that Antony's a good player, but he probably, well, he isn't at the moment a Premier League player. Now, if he can switch that on, happy days. But the chances are he may not be able to. Look at Sancho in the Bundesliga. Not able to replicate it in the Premier League. Kagawa, Mkhitaryan. You know, there's so many players that do really, really well in other leagues and don't transfer it to the Premier League. But it's not exclusive. There'll be players from the Bundesliga that comes over here and do really, really well. There'll be players from the Eredivisie that come over here and do really, really well. It's not easy to... If everybody knew the code, they'd only use the good code. But yeah, look, I would love Antony to come good because he, you know, I think personality-wise, he hasn't got the baggage of some players that we need to sell this summer. But you know, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. It won't be the first bad transfer United or any other club have done. He might have an important part to play tonight. Gaz, welcome. Oh, sorry, he's gifting a membership. Thank you very much. Ben says, Mainu captain, play the kids and bench the rest. Yeah, we get beat about 10-0, Ben, to be honest. What's your favourite food, says Son? Lasagna. Lasagna. I love it. Please do smash a like on the video, by the way. We're close to 1,000 likes. Let me just tell you as well, just what's going on. It is the news show, so I'm going to give you some United stand news. I'm leaving you, you cow. No, I'm not. I bet some of you rejoiced. You'd love that, wouldn't you? It's a match day. It's a match day. And Manchester United, I really must tell you this, Manchester United are not kicking off at 8 o'clock tonight. It's an FA Cup game. It's actually kicking off at 7:45. So we very rarely kick off at 7:45. It's not an 8 o'clock kickoff. It's 7:45. Therefore, we will start the countdown to kick off at 6:15 today. Team news will be coming in around 6:30. We've got Kev's fan cam for you this afternoon as well. And obviously, I'll be live with you for the watch along and the match reaction and all of that. And look, it would be remiss of me to say that this is an absolute. Sometimes I'll take. We should have a section, actually. I've always wanted to do this, and it would probably be rubbish, but I've always wanted to do a bit of a nostalgia section, because nostalgia in football content doesn't work. Remember in COVID, like, I was like, what the bloody hell are we going to do for content? And then MUTV started playing back classic United matches. So I said, tonight at 8 o'clock, we're doing a 99 Champions League Cup final watch along. And I was like, there'll be loads of people watching this. Hardly anyone watched. People don't like nostalgia. But I'm going to give you a bit of nostalgia. Endo came from the Bundesliga and doing very well. Something strange happens with our signings, says Aditya. But no, it's not just us. Other people have brought people in from other leagues. I don't think Ballack did particularly well at Chelsea. Shevchenko didn't do well from Serie A for Chelsea. It happens on a case-by-case basis. From New Zealand, I'll be working. I love the chat, says Dansky. So, back in the days of success, I'm probably talking from 92 to, I don't know, 2012, let's be honest. So 92 to 2012, when United were in the Champions League or European Cup or whatever it was called, there would be days when it would normally be a European game because weekends you're off. There would be days at work where United would be playing at night against Juventus or Leverkusen or someone like that, and it'd be a big game, and all day I'd be thinking about it. The minutes would be going like hours. I'd be tense. I'd be, excited, but, all day looking forward to it, counting down the minutes. Really haven't had that very often. Don't know about you. Really haven't had it that often over the last decade. But today I've got that feeling, and I don't know why. I had it a little bit on Saturday and they let me down, but I have it again today. I'm looking at the time a lot. I'm looking at, how long till kickoff. There's something about this game, and I don't know what it is. And the funny thing is, I saw somebody mention today as well, I was actually at this game. It would have been 1990. 1990, Manchester United at the City Ground against Nottingham Forest, FA Cup third round game. Loads and loads and loads and loads of press and fans wanting Sir Alex out. There was a famous story that if we'd lost that game, we would have got the sack, although the chairman at the time said that wasn't going to happen. We were going to stick with him. But Man United won 1-0, and they weren't expected to win. Mark Robbins, lovely goal. Got ahead of Stuart Pearce, nodded it in. I'm not saying this is the same, but I just have that feeling today. And I hope some of you have it as well, because we're meant to be Manchester United fans, the majority of us. And I just think this game tonight has a siege mentality feel to it. I'm not even really thinking about external stuff like whether Rashford and Ten Hag get on or what. I'm just thinking 11 people in a Man United shirt, massive injury crisis, everybody's against us. In some ways, that's what supporting Man United's all about, and I can't wait. Mark Robbins is doing a very good job at Coventry as well. He never gets really mentioned as an ex-United player doing well in management. He's done so well at Coventry City. Really, really good. And they're still in the cup as well. We could get them next round if we win tonight. They beat Maidstone, didn't they? Anyway, look, massive game tonight. Really looking forward to it. And I will speak to you a little bit later on. Take care. Have a good day. Hope you're feeling positive and excited as United fans that want us to win. Don't be coming with your negativity later. You'll get blocked. I'm only joking. Fantastic interview with Lars. Very insightful. I'm loving the feedback we got on that, by the way. We've been wanting to do it for quite a while. And yeah, I enjoyed it. So if you haven't watched it, check it out on my channel, the Mark Goldbridge channel. And also, don't forget as well, Ultras, the podcast. Goldbridge Saves Football. Scan that QR code. Get yourself listening to the podcast now. Get yourself out for a walk. Get fit with Goldbridge. Get out there. Put your earpods in. Listen to the thing whilst you're doing something active. Get active listening to the podcast. Also, get educated. There's some great comments on there, especially the Bruno Spurs one's really good. And Pratt of the Week. All you got to do is use your phone and it'll work. Link's not in the description, I don't think, but scan the QR code. I'll speak to you all later. Take care, legends, and I'll speak to you tonight. Big game. Come on, United!